All right, let's get started. Depending on your time zone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on AI for GRC, a practical guide to co-pilots and agents. We are pleased to welcome you all. Let me start by providing two important points. First, the webinar is being recorded and we will share out the recording link next week. Second, we encourage you to participate by posting your questions throughout the session using the chat window at the bottom portion of the screen. We will be monitoring the chat and will answer your questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. My name is Venki Yerapothu. I'm the co-founder, CEO at 4series.ai. I'm a technologist by background. I have spent the last 20 years in the GRC domain. I had the opportunity to build technology platforms all through my career to support GRC functions. More importantly, I have partnered with hundreds of organizations on their GRC initiatives. I have seen firsthand how GRC systems fall short. Not only is GRC in its current form too complex, too manual, and too expensive, it is not mitigating risk sufficiently. That's why we founded 4series.ai to augment GRC professionals, thereby reducing costs while raising the effectiveness of the compliance and risk programs. With me on the panel today are Shweta Shantaram and Supra Apikonda. Shweta, I'll let you introduce yourself and then Supra.
Thank you, Vinky. Hi, everyone. My name is Shweta Shantaram, and I head the products at 4series.ai. I have around 18 years of experience and almost 10 years, almost a decade of that experience is in the GRC sector. In my previous roles, I have led the development of products like cyber risk and compliance solution, risk quantification, third party management, and so on, while working with customers from different industry, retail, banking, healthcare, technology, and so on. With 4C Risk, I lead the development of innovative AI powered compliance solution. I am deeply passionate about AI product design, and we at 4C Risk are collectively redefining the risk and compliance landscape through the power of the transformative AI. Thank you, and I look forward to show us what we have in 4C Risk today.
All right, Supra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Supra. I'm co-founder and chief of operations at 4C Risk. Prior to Venki and I starting 4C Risk, I spent over 2 decades in the risk and compliance world, helping companies establish and manage their risk and compliance programs. I played several key roles through the years, designed and implemented solutions for Fortune 100 and 500 companies, led the software architecture, design, and development of entire GRC and compliance solution suite, handled massive overhaul of GRC programs for clients, managed strategic partner alliances with Big Four and McKinsey, managed domain-specific practices in finance, healthcare, and retail sectors to scale global software delivery. I'm looking forward to our webinar today and share some of the best practices applicable to AI solutions.
All right, thank you. All right, do you all know that 80% of the data flowing into and out of GRC systems is unstructured? Let me start by giving you a perspective on the unstructured data problem. Well, if you are one of the 300,000 users who play New York Times connection puzzle every day, you know what I'm talking about. The New York Times connection puzzle presents 16 words and requires you to categorize them into 4 distinct groups, each linked by a subtle commonality. The challenge lies in discerning these nuanced relationships, which often demand a keen understanding of the word meanings, semantic associations, and general knowledge. Now move to the next slide, please. Now imagine GRC professionals facing a massive, ever-changing connection puzzle. Instead of 16 words, they have millions of lines of unstructured text embedded in regulations, policies, controls, RCSAs, consumer complaints, risk assessments, and I can go on and on and on. And these are all federated across. Sorry, there was a message. Oh, sorry. And these are all federated across business units, product lines, locations, and more. Their challenge is to connect these disparate pieces, identifying the hidden relationships, for example, between legal obligations and controls and potential risks. This task is made even more daunting by the constantly evolving nature of the regulatory, business, and the external risk landscape, where new laws and interpretations emerge regularly. Businesses are constantly innovating and evolving, and new risks, emerging risks are identified almost on a daily basis. This requires GRC programs to continually reevaluate and adjust their connections. So if I go to the next slide. Well, with a change happening every 7 minutes, at least in the regulatory landscape, humans and conventional tools cannot keep up. The cost of compliance is unsustainable and the risk of non-compliance is growing. Move to the next slide. Well, AI's ability to process unstructured data is one of the key reasons why AI is a game changer for GRC. AI excels at processing and analyzing unstructured data at a scale and speed no human can match. It can tame the data deluge. Risk and compliance programs are inundated with manual processes, mostly around unstructured data. Whether you're trying to identify duplicate controls in your control environment, identify requirements, generate obligations from laws, map these obligations to your policies and controls. These are all time-consuming, costly tasks and prone to errors just because of the volume and veracity of unstructured content. AI can automate many of these tasks, or at least augment the professionals doing this work so they can be more effective and efficient, freeing up valuable GRC resources to focus on more strategic initiatives. Traditional GRC is often reactive, focusing on responding to events after they occur. AI enables a shift towards a more proactive and predictive approach. AI provides GRC professionals with better data, deeper insights, faster than any manual process, leading to a more informed and effective decision-making. So now let's look at the building blocks of an AI solution. The foundation of any AI solution dealing with unstructured data is a language model. A language model is an AI system that can understand, generate, and manipulate language. You all heard about LLMs. We're going to talk a little bit about small language models, or SLMs. Large language models are like vast general purpose AI brains trained on massive data sets, making them capable of handling a wide range of tasks like writing stories or translating languages, just to name a couple. But they do have certain inefficiencies. Data bias, since they have been trained on massive and disparate data sets. LLMs hallucinate because they predict the most likely next word based on their training data, It's a probabilistic model, sometimes leading to fabricated information when they lack real world knowledge or encounter ambiguous prompts. There are also lingering unresolved questions around privacy of your business data. In my opinion, it's not if, but when business data will get compromised. And not to mention the carbon footprint these large language models leave behind. In contrast, small language models or SLMs, like 4C's ARIA, due to their focused training on narrower data sets, like risk and compliance domain, these are very much more specialized and more efficient and effective at automating manual GRC tasks. They have zero data bias, lower rate of hallucinations, business data remains private and secure within the four walls of the customer environment, and they have a very low carbon footprint. Now let's talk about Gen AI. You probably all heard and tired of Gen AI. It's a type of AI that creates new content and ideas. We have interacted with chatbots in the last decades, mostly in customer service applications. Co-pilots are the future of chatbots. They provide more collaborative assistance. The focus is to provide suggestions, give advice, and answer more complex questions from a library of documents, or they're based on RAG architectures. But co-pilots don't make decisions. It's the AI agents that make decisions, and they're transformative in nature. They can not only make decisions based on algorithms, they can learn autonomously, perform tasks, and adapt to situations, events, or data. Combined with Copilot, they can transform the way we work. AI agents can be spun up to perform a series of tasks with human-in-the-loop reviews at critical junctures. And furthermore, since they can learn, they continuously improve. You can create an AI agent for a specific task or a repeatable set of tasks in a workflow and get them running in weeks or, at the most months. You can tune them to specific KPIs and connect them to one another. AI agent orchestration is really going to be the future. All these techniques, in the previous slide, please. All these technologies, as these technologies mature, we will be able to extend AI agent architectures, frameworks, and libraries to enable the patterned reasoning, planning, and self-improvement. Agent orchestration may be federated across numerous tasks and platforms, which will fundamentally transform, streamline, and radically compress our relatively static and cumbersome manual processes that we have right now. Now to the next slide. So let's delve into some best practices on how to implement AI in your GRC program. First, identify the key challenges and pain points within your GRC program that AI can address, typically around unstructured content. Focus on areas where AI can deliver the greatest values, automating manual tasks that deal with unstructured content, like improving risk assessments or enhancing compliance monitoring, and always set measurable goals. AI is not the silver bullet that will solve all our problems. AI augments the subject matter experts in being more effective and efficient in how they process, how they do their manual tasks. Always remember that. Implement robust data security measures. Ensure your sensitive business data remains within the four walls of your environment. Be cautious about allowing sensitive business data to be used to train models, especially models that exist on the public domain. Prioritize transparency and explainability Consider scalability and integration as some of the needs of an AI system. Always build a cross-functional AI GRC team. Provide them with the necessary training, resources, and constantly engage with stakeholders. Last but not the least, monitor the AI performance. Stay informed about AI advancements and be prepared to adapt your approach. Now, with that, I would like to pass the baton on to Shweta to actually show us AI live in a environment that deals with complex risk and compliance problems. Shweta?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Venki. So, one of the points, Venki, that you mentioned is, accurately connecting the fragmented data or the disparate data is one of the very key challenges that organizations face. Now, this is where our compliance mapping solution comes into play. So, the power of compliance mapping is it enables organizations to one identify gaps and assess your compliance coverage or the efficiency. Not only assess your efficiency, but do that very quickly. Typically, we have seen that an assessment of understanding your compliance coverage would take probably days and weeks worth of effort. But with our solution, you can do that in few minutes, right? So I hope everybody can see the system that I have up.
Yeah.
So
Shweta, one small thing. Can you hide the Zoom message at the bottom of the presentation?
absolutely, just give me a second.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is okay, great.
Perfect. Thank you much.
So, as you can see, one of the use cases that I've picked up is I'm curious to understand how much coverage I have when it comes to certain privacy requirements. And these requirements could be laid down by a single regulator or multiple regulators, right? And I would like to understand how much coverage do I have. So, what I'm trying to do here is to compare my privacy regulatory requirements into one of my organizational policies on privacy terms and conditions. Now, this becomes the input to my compliance mapping. Now, what compliance mapping solution does is first, it gives you a visual representation of your compliance coverage. Now, as you can see on the screen, we call this as a Sankey diagram. Now, this diagram gives you a visualization as how your compliance coverage is looking. So typically, the color that we represent here indicates a strength of your mapping. You can see that something in yellow typically represents a partial coverage, something in green represents a strong coverage, and if something is there in red, I don't think there is anything here, which kind of represents a minimal coverage. So this is giving you a bird's eye view of how does your compliance landscape looks like when it comes to privacy. Now, this is great. You get a first view of what's happening. And you can also see the smaller nodes here, which are in red, which are really something which is telling you that, hey, there is no coverage for this. So, probably there is no policy statement or policies written, which is kind of covering a specific requirement mentioned over here. Now, to understand this in detail, we provide something called as traceability. Now, traceability is a great way to get into details. As you can see, we give you information about what are the mapped rules. In this case, what are the mapped privacy requirements and against what it has been mapped. And I can expand this. It gives me, okay, this is a specific rule and there are multiple policy statements which kind of gives me a partial coverage around it. Now there are more rules which is probably giving me a strong coverage over here. So, as a user, you are able to understand within your mapping the strength of the coverage and what are those exact rules and policy statements which is giving you a coverage. Now, at the same time, you will see there is something called as unmapped primary or unmapped elements. These kind of indicate that this is where you do not have a coverage. Now we understand that you all may be wondering how do we do this, right? So the way we do this is what happens in the background is this is powered by our purpose built small language models that Venki just few minutes ago mentioned about, and these models are trained specifically and are curated specifically for risk and compliance use cases, and models are continuously trained and refined to maintain accuracy and adaptability. Now this is what is helping us, within a span of minutes give you a compliance coverage. Now as you can see that this is what our model Arya has given. Now, we understand that as an SME who is looking into this, you may want to change some of these mappings. You may want to give feedback to this. You may want to go ahead and modify or update some of this. So, let's say, for example, you don't probably think this is strong, or maybe you think this is a strong coverage. So, as a user, we empower the user to make those changes so that one, our system learns from it. Second, you can have an updated coverage as well. So, human in the loop is in the center of the compliance mapping. Now, as I said, you looked at mapped, you looked at unmapped, but what about those which are gaps, which is really your unmapped that you see here, right? So, this is where Arya goes beyond telling you whether there is a gap or not. She also recommends, think of her as an intelligent assistant that you have who is giving you that first draft recommendation about how to address the gap. So, she actually offers a suggested language to cover your gap efficiently. So if I want to cover the gaps for these, which are really my unmapped, I can select this and say, hey, Arya, give me the recommended language. She gives me a language that you can see briefly here. That for a gap, she is going to give you a very crisp language, which you can. Now, of course, if you want to edit or make tweaks to this, absolutely yes, you can do that, or you can take these by simple download, take it into your you know the GRC workflow of approvals or getting it added into your policy documents. You can take it through that process. That way Arya is not only giving you insights into your compliance coverage, but she's also recommending you how you can bridge these gaps. Now, with that, if you really look at compliance mapping, it's a great tool or a solution which reduces your manual effort while she's improving your compliance visibility. At the same time, we are accelerating the decision making process with the AI powered insight and the human oversight. Now, you may all be wondering that, okay, she does rule book to policy, but there are so many other aspects when it comes to compliance coverage. So, the power and the beauty of compliance map is just not about, okay, comparing your rule to policy, but I'll quickly open up an example. Maybe you will see here that she can actually seamlessly compare a rule book to policy, your policies to procedure, procedures to control. So, this she does again very quickly and efficiently, which will give you not only a coverage between two elements of your enterprise, but many more of them. So, with that, I'm not sure how many of you are curious that how did we get these rule information? Because if you think about regulatory requirements, they typically are available to us in bulky PDFs. So you may be wondering that, does user have to come and give this information manually? Do they have to upload? What's the process behind this? So this is where our regulatory research solution comes into play. As you can see, if from a compliance mapping perspective, let's say if you're using your regulations as a base, then regulatory research pretty much becomes a backbone for your compliance mapping, because this is where you can actually get your rule information from regulatory documents. Now, how do we do that? Is First of all, regulatory research is your centralized digital library of regulations and frameworks, which can be tailor made to your organizational needs. So as you can see that I have US, global, multiple jurisdictions. I have Europe, Australia, Asia, and so on. Now, if I go under US, I have Code of Federal regulations, state regulations, US codes, guidance, everything is available here. At the same time, I go under global, I have standards, regulations, and guidance. Under global, I have like NIST and PCI, COBIT. You have all these standards made available. Now, let's say you are a user who is looking at maybe one of the code of federal regulation. Let's say you're looking at a regulatory agency or a regulator, CFPB, and you're very interested in electronic fund transfer. So you want to understand what is there in that. So all you have to do is quickly go, select what you need, and search on it. Now, what happens at this point of time is what we do in our regulatory research is to break down the complexity of these regulations. Now, I'll quickly show you how we do that. But before we get into that, as you can see on the screen, when I did a search on electronic fund transfer as one of the regulation, it quickly gives me a summary of what are all the different topics associated with it. That is what you see here. And if I come down, it also gives.
Shweta, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, is that for everyone?
Actually,
I can see.
we're able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. Okay. So, apart from showing you the topics associated with it, what we also do is get in the regulatory information. And as I said, we break down the complexity associated with it. Now, how do we do that? Is one, we break the regulations, which are, as I said, are usually provided in a bulky PDF into a logical chunks. Now, why do we do that? Is this is what helps you in your better analysis and understanding. So I'll quickly open one of the associated information from electronic fund transfer. As you can see that, yes, it lists down all the information under this specific citation, 1005.1, and then you have subpart A, part 105. So you can see that the hierarchy is beautifully maintained. At the same time, you have all the necessary information available here. So as a user, you have an opportunity to come here, look at these rules, and let's say you are interested in maybe a topic or a theme which is not limited to one regulatory body but across regulatory body. You may want to understand, hey, what are my opt-in requirements? You can actually go ahead and type in that and select your regulators of interest, and look at those data, which really reduces the complexities involved in especially when there are multiple regulators involved. Now, at this point of time, what we also do is, as I said, we are breaking this down into logical chunks. Here is where we will create something called as a rule book. So once you have searched on what you need, or clicking on an auto rule book will generate a rule book for you. Now, I'll quickly move on and talk more about what is rule book. Now, rule book is you can think of it as a compilation or a collection of the rules that you have extracted based on the search that you have done, right? So in our case, as I said, that you were interested in just give me a second, you were interested in electronic fund transfer. So this is where you can go ahead and look at the rule book that you would have created for electronic fund transfer. So okay, as you can see, this is your rule book, and I click on one of the rule books that we have generated. as I said, the beauty here is your bulky PDF has been broken down, and you have logical chunks of your uh, rules which are extracted from the regulatory documents neatly laid out here. Now, there are many capabilities here as to how you would want to break your rules down. Do you want it more granular? You have an ability to determine that by saying at what level you would like to see. Uh, so those options are also available. But now, if you look at the rule book itself, you will see something called as requirement, which are really nothing but your rules. And we ensure complete data integrity, that no data is lost, and you will see that the whole hierarchy and traceability is maintained. It tells you that, okay, this is from Title 12, CFPB, a specific part, subpart, and what is the citation number. But apart from this, we also each of these rules are also categorized and supplemented with a lot of intelligence from our AI models. As you can see, there's something called as type, matter, topic, and subtopics. This typically indicates, for example, type indicates the nature of your rule. Is it informative in nature? Is it prescriptive in nature? Which helps users to focus on what is really important, what is actionable versus what is not actionable. And it also gives you an idea about, okay, what is this talking about? Is this talking about disclosure? Is it talking about privacy? Is it talking about something else? So as a user, you get all of these intelligence by looking at a rule book. Now, at this point of time, as a user, you can use this as an input into your compliance mapping. That is what I had done in my previous example. But there is another option also, not necessarily an option, but another capability that ARIA provides is obligation. So you see something called as generate obligations, right? So what are these obligations? So ARIA has a capability where she can automatically generate a business friendly language obligation, which really translate your dense regulatory text into something more actionable. So let's look at something that I have generated as an obligation for the specific rules that we are looking at. And when it comes to obligation also, we generate the simple language translation of these regulatory text, as you can see here, with full traceability. So this would be your obligation summary that ARIA would have generated, and it will give you complete traceability as to from where did we generate this, right? What is the actual authoritative rule associated with it? So all of these information is available right here. So overall, if you look at regulatory research, this is a great platform to streamline your regulatory analysis and rule extraction. It also bridges the gap between the regulatory language and your operational requirements, and lays a beautiful foundation for effective compliance mapping and risk management.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, when you think of, we have been talking about so much of data, right? We are talking about regulations, we are talking about policies, we are talking about controls, procedures. Now, with so much of information and the vast repo available for us, on the other side, we also see the challenges that may be uh, or may arise in the communication landscape of an organization. So, what do I essentially mean by that is, if you look at an organization, you may see that the employees, typically it could be a first line users, may be struggling to get access to uh, information is available, but they are struggling to get answers to their queries quickly. So that typically leads into SMEs being, responding to the same kind of questions over and over again, which is eating up their valuable time. And also, maybe organizations, because of this, there is a lack of insight into the employee needs. Now, ARIA beautifully solves this with her transformative capabilities. Now, what she does is this is where our Arya Copilot comes into picture, something that Venki mentioned about that Arya can answer simple to complex queries of related to your organization. So, for example, if Arya is being, whatever the documents and data is made available to her, she works in that closed domain and she can answer questions. So, let's see her in action doing this, right? As you can see on the screen, I can narrow down my question saying that, okay, I want to ask these questions only on procedures, or I can narrow down saying that, okay, I want to ask this only on reports, but maybe I'll select everything. Let me get in a question. Just give me a second. So now Arya is very good at answering simple questions, as well as she's very good at answering some of the complicated questions as well. So here I'm asking a bit of a scenario based question where, let's say I am an IT person and I saw that maybe a scanning was done, there were a lot of issues, but one critical vulnerability just remains unresolved even after the past expected timeline. Now I don't know whether there is something specifically written in policy about this, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What rating should I give that? So now when I ask this to Arya, what she does is, depending upon what is being exposed to her, so if I have exposed Arya to organizations, information security policies, etc., she comes up with an answer. Now she tells me that, hey, in this scenario, the first thing is your asset owners or the custodians should be made aware. And then you also have to ensure that if there are patches, etc., you'll have to take care of that. And also you'll have to probably rate this as critical and try to address this promptly. Now she gave me this answer. How do I believe this answer, right? This is where Arya gives you full transparency. Now she has done her best to give you the answer based on the question you have asked and based on the data that was given to her. And she gives you full transparency by showing up the exact reference. She is telling us that she got this information from this specific document in question. And if you click on this, she's also telling us that she got this information from this section of the policy, which is great because I don't have to worry about figuring out where did she get this answer from. Now, when I click on this, she takes me to the actual document, and the beauty is, one second. The beauty is she will also highlight and tell me, where did this particular response came from. As you can see, this is where she got the response from. She has specifically highlighted that section of information. Now, with this, as you can see, Arya is using her power to give you one quick answer, which will help the frontline users, getting answers to the questions that they have quickly. Now, this is not limited to only policies, right? This is, you can ask questions on regulation. So maybe a compliance manager can use this to get some quick answers out of the regulations. So this basically empowers your first line users and your SMEs, because now they can probably concentrate on something that is more valuable. At the same time, as an organization, you gain insight into what is really required in your organization, where is the gap, or is there a training need, is there a need for the policies to be written in a different way or in a better way. So these are some of the key benefits that you can get out of Arya. Of course, we maintain a detailed analytics and history about all this information, so at any point of time anybody can look at these information and extract what questions were asked, and what were the references that were pulled up, etc. As a user also, we always maintain the history of it so they can look at those details. Now, that's about Arya Copilot. Now, by now you may have already seen that Arya is quite versatile. She's doing compliance mapping. She's giving intelligence on your rules. She's telling you the nature of the rule, etc. She's also generating languages. Now she's also answering your question. Now, Arya's this versatility extends to AI agents as well. Now, Arya powers various AI agents which solve some of the key organizational needs like contract assessment, control validation, risk assessments, and so on. And one of the use cases that I would like to show is the third party risk assessment. Now, we all know that anytime before onboarding a vendor, doing a due diligence on the vendor is absolutely essential. And then not only doing this one time, but continuously doing that is a key for third party risk management. Now, keeping that in mind, this specific risk assessment agent is designed to automate the review of vendor documents, which typically takes hours and days together. Now, this speeds up the whole process and gives you a very good understanding of the vendors in question. Now, how do we do this? Is all this agent needs is what are you evaluating, right? Like, what are the documents on which I have to evaluate, and what are you evaluating? So, for example, agent needs an input that, okay, am I evaluating a SOC 2 document, a policy document? And then agent needs to know on what I'm evaluating, which is nothing but the evaluation criteria. Like, as you can see here, am I evaluating this information security policy? Is it about training policy? Is it about third party or supplier, management within this particular vendor? Or it could be about regulatory compliance, or it could be about data privacy and so on. So once you give this as an input to the AI agent, it automatically reviews these and gives you the result. Now, for example, if I look at evaluate data privacy and confidentiality, the agent has gone ahead. It has given a response saying that yes, this particular vendor has a good data privacy and confidentiality in place. And how is it saying? It talks about what the management assertion is talking about in the SOC 2 report, and what are the different control tests that is there in the SOC 2 report. Now, Arya always gives an answer, but she also brings in full transparency so that you know where this answer is getting from. So as you can see here, I can say that, okay, this came from this specific document. That is great. But at the same time, what part of the document gave me an answer to this? So that is where she highlights, and I can just go next and look at where I got this answer from. So this is where, Arya can automate your third party risk management process from maybe hours to few minutes or days to few minutes. And one is the repetitive task of doing this for multiple vendors is reduced. There's a great ROI there. And then it also ensures compliance with by giving you these insights and traceability, because that is absolutely important. And if you look at this whole what Arya's agent is doing, it is really strengthening an organization's risk management and the overall vendor oversight. So that is what is one of the agents of third-party risk management. With that, I will hand it over to Supra, who will share some of the best practices when it comes to AI products. Supra,
Absolutely. Thank you, Shweta. That was wonderful. Clearly, we are enabling a lot of AI agents, and as Venki mentioned, this is our future. There are many more use cases that will come out from 4C. These revolve around the contract assessment, complaints assessment. So please do look out for such AI agents that will transform the way AI can address your use cases. Now, when it comes to AI, there's probably no other better way than to experience AI in real time, to understand the value it can bring to your business, to identify use cases that are highly manual and can be accelerated with AI automation. We have identified some of the best practices that can help you with your AI-powered tool selection process and also implementation of such tools for your business. Now, evaluation is a great way to experience AI in action and ensure AI solution aligns with your organization needs, budget, and long-term goals. If you could move on to the next slide, Shweta. A thorough evaluation helps you understand your costs and benefit. It helps you understand ROI in terms of time, cost, and efficiency. It helps you understand opportunities for people, process, and technology alignment and enrichment. While every evaluation is different, typically organizations have proven methodologies in place that can be leveraged to achieve evaluation objectives. A good agile evaluation framework would involve a series of steps. A typical AI evaluation would last anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks, depending upon the use cases you are evaluating. It starts with you identifying the use cases and prioritizing those use cases, especially identifying business problem statements and manual tasks that AI can address. Define a clear success criteria and expected outcome for the evaluation. Since the time for evaluation is short, bringing together the right products, people, and data can ensure maximum learning on your side. Now, during evaluation, understand where human in the loop is required. Now, there is no AI is not going to replace humans, and I think that we all can understand that fairly well. And therefore, make sure that there is a human in the loop process enabled, and you are able to evaluate as part of the evaluation exercise itself. Prepare a formal evaluation report and feedback loop as you go through the evaluation. Right? Pay attention to key areas such as what was the expected outcome you had in mind, and what are the actual results that came out from the evaluation? What are the key learnings from this evaluation? Right? New use cases that you may have identified during the evaluation. There are so many possibilities with AI in place, and these agents can be introduced within no time. This is, as we all are familiar with the low-code platform, this is something on the AI side where business processes can be automated within no time. So keep an eye on those new use cases. Overall change management process itself, it differs when it comes to AI from the traditional software development. So paying attention to change management process is key. And finally, evaluating and monitoring and monitoring and maintenance nuances associated with the AI systems also becomes key. We have supported numerous evaluations, and here are some of the examples of ROI assessment we did. For a use case that involved Ask Aria Copilot, we did an ROI assessment that was in millions of dollars, savings in millions of dollars because Aria can answer those questions 90 times faster, supporting the process in a human-led manner. For a load of 50K users per year, we noticed that our customers were spending more than a day in 10% of the cases in providing clarifications. Now, that is a cost of $2.5 million saved by Aria's Copilot solution. If you go over to the next slide, there's another use case that involved compliance mapping, where 90% of the effort was saved in mapping NIST standards to organizations' IT policies and procedures. Typically, compliance with standards and frameworks is incorporated for an organization in hundreds of policies and procedures that an organization maintains. Our compliance map solution was able to map NIST CSF requirements to those hundreds of policies and procedures within a matter of minutes. This was the compliance map that Shweta was showing, where you had the green lines, yellow lines, and the red lines. That's the level of compliance mapping that can be done within a matter of few seconds. Now, this ROI can be significant, with AI reducing much of the manual work required in the current manual risk and compliance processes that you all are going through. Now, let's talk a little bit about AI governance. What is entailed in AI governance? AI governance is a key element to a successful future with AI-driven solutions. Without a well-governed AI process, AI initiatives typically run into challenges with risks in areas such as technology, ethics, operational compliance, and regulatory compliance. Organizations already have governance models defined to tackle technology adoption and change management. it is best to extend your governance model to include AI concepts such as what's the AI architecture, AI operations, large language models versus the small language models, as Venki mentioned, right? This language model training, what data is being leveraged for training? Is there synthetic data that's getting generated for training the models? Generative AI and the human in the loop process, right? Risks associated with data bias, hallucination, drifting, all these can be incorporated as part of your AI governance structure. We recommend establishing AI-specific working groups and committees to assess those AI risks as you onboard AI platforms. A well-governed approach to AI adoption can really make the overall experience rewarding in many, many ways. Now, for those who are interested, we are actually conducting a free evaluation right now of Ask Aria Copilot product. We encourage you all to sign up for this free evaluation to experience AI yourself. You will find more details on our website, www.forceris.ai. Now, with that, let me hand it over to Venki to see if you have any questions.
Yeah, there is one question, Supra, for you. What does it take to deploy an AI solution like ForceRisk?
That's a great question, actually. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. We have a cloud-based platform. This is a cloud-based platform. It's a multi-tenant model versus a dedicated model. Really, the solutions are all ready. It's just for you to get up and working. It takes about a couple of weeks for us to just enable those solutions, understand what's your business profile, which products and services you're interested in. We understand that, configure the solution, and enable single sign-on integration, and then you're up and working. There's just no time really required to do the implementation for you.
All right. There is another question asking about small language models. Why is it better than large language models? So let me take that question. So large language models are built to really, in my opinion, to solve world hunger, right? They do a lot of things. They're fantastic. But are they precise enough to solve back office sensitive, handle and solve back office requirements, right? Probably not, because first of all, large language models are available on the public domain, and you have to access them through APIs. So you are putting your sensitive business data at risk when you send something to a large language model. The second thing is large language models may not necessarily be trained on your specific domain and on the problem statement that you are trying to address within your process, right? So the effectiveness of large language models is not necessarily going to be that great when looking at back office solutions or problem statements. In fact, for the New York Times connections puzzle, so some data scientists did use LLM to solve that puzzle, and they got 40% accuracy with their predictions, and that's a fact, right? See, the thing with small language models is they don't solve world hunger, but they have been explicitly trained on the, in our case, on the risk and compliance domain. And they have been fine-tuned to automate manual GRC tasks. So we have created synthetic data to tune these models to perform these tasks. That's why they are more efficient and effective. And the last but not the least, the carbon footprint. I mean, a ChatGPT has 1.7 trillion parameters plus and growing, right? ForceRisk ARIA model is about 700 million parameters. So the cost of running inference, the cost of training these language models, is much more, is in fact negligible compared to what it takes to train a chat GPT. So that's how I look at it, why small language models are important. And they have a very significant space, occupy a significant space in automating back office solutions. There are no other questions, so we will wrap up the webinar. Sweta, if you want to just go to the next slide. Oh, okay. So, everyone, thanks for joining. Hope this session was beneficial. Again, a tremendous thanks to all of you for participating, joining us today. We will send a link to the session as well as a summary transcript next week. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future and assisting you in modernizing GRC programs. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.